The following podcast is brought to you by Pro Wrestling Connect, Australia's newest choice for event management and brand development specialising in pro wrestling.
And now, the B Plus Wrestling Podcast. Watch global. Support local. It's the B Plus Wrestling Podcast.
The Moose.
B plus.
Check it out! You wanna mess with us? 'Cause we're steady on the ground.
We're back. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen out there in the B Plus land. It is me, it is I, the one they call Mr Myster1ous, and welcome back to All the Rest, the wrestling podcast where we cover all the wrestling news in this wacky, weird world they call professional wrestling. If you didn't catch on from my little introduction there, we did take a little bit of a break. Greg Unchained, Big Boy Mikey, and myself, we had a little bit of a week off, and we all needed some time to collect our thoughts, and there was a lot of stuff going on. We had the GoFundMe, of course, to keep the website going. I'll let Greg Unchained put a little status update about that in the coming days. But yeah, it's been a bit of a journey, and it's good to... Distance makes the heart grow fonder, and it's nice to kind of step back at the same time. But at the same time, I'm a bit annoyed because I go away for 1 week, and the wrestling world, like pretty much my entire format, gets thrown every which way. Because all the stuff I'm talking about, something big has happened. Something big is going on. And now I'm just like, all right, you assholes, let's get right into this. So I'm glad to be back. I'm a little bit petty right now, but we're going to work through this. We're going to work through all the goings on in MLW, All Elite Wrestling, NWA, the weird WWE stories, and then just anything else that comes across my desk because I need to get this out into the public as quick as possible. Jeez. From my brain to yours, this is All the Rest. And how about we start, of course, where we always do. Birthday news. Birthday news, by the time I'm recording, wish a happy 37th birthday to the Millennial Slayer, Damien Sandow. Still not quite sure what's going to happen with that whole Millennial Slayer persona, I should say. We'll see what happens. But when this comes out, guys, on August 4th, wish a happy 59th birthday to AEW backstage producer Dean Malenko, of course, former light heavyweight champion with WWF, former ring producer backstage. He was there for many years, and then, now part of All Elite Wrestling. And another person with All Elite Wrestling, Frankie Kazarian of FCU, turns 42. You forget how old the Daniels and Kazarian are because they're just so agile. They fight like they're still in their early 30s, and they're just pure top-notch talent. And again, the tag team wrestling in AEW already is looking to shape up to be one of the best things about that company, and that's by design. So I'm very much looking forward to that, and I'm very much looking forward to a lot of stuff. So how about I get into it? Let's start with MLW episode 68. I will briefly touch on the episode we didn't get a chance to talk about last week. So you had Hammerstone and Davey Boy Smith. They faced off for the national openweight title. Davey had the match. He had it pretty much won, but MJF, the Dynasty, they were all there. They desecrated the Canadian flag in front of him, and Davey's just like, oh, hell no, and prompted Davey to get so angry that he hit all three members of the Dynasty with the Canadian flag, causing the disqualification, which meant that Hammerstone still retained his national openweight championship, his second defense, I believe. So he's still, with the Star Spangled Challenge is still going strong. We had Los Parks face off against Dr. Wagner and El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. That is a mouthful and a half. This big rivalry from Mexico on the grand stage of MLW, it was okay. I enjoyed it. I love LA Park as a competitor. I think he's phenomenal. I don't know. It wasn't the best main event ever, but it had a lot of history to it, and I respect the efforts of both men. And even though the you had Dr. Wagner, the elder of the Wagners, and you had LA Park. They were battling it out. Like, again, that doesn't matter how old they are still rocking it in MLW. Absolutely love it. So we start with this episode as well. We don't get the usual cold open. We start out with Selena De La Renta. Just straight away, we're cutting to Selena De La Renta making her way to the ring to cut a promo on Mance Warner and his crusade to destroy Promotion Earth Dorado. And last week, Selena, the thing with Selena, she has this whole thing. She's this businesswoman. She's sophisticated. She's ruthless, conniving, calculating. And then, and commentary will casually call her bruja, which is Spanish, like witch in Espanol and everything else. But then she'll have those supernatural moments. And I'm just like, it doesn't fit. It's so out of place, but at the same time, it's awesome. So last week, she essentially summoned the devil. She summoned Bestia 666, is now the newest member to take place in Promociones in Loki's stead, since he is now on his own man now. Black Friday Management is its own entity away from Promociones Dorado. But look up Selena essentially doing a satanic ritual to summon Bestia. It is... I don't even know how to describe it. Like, Selena just can do both. She can do the supernatural weird elements like that, and then she can just be this ruthless producer, like extraordinaire businesswoman, and that's what I love about her. So we cut right to the opening match is a death match between Bestia 666 and old Mance Warner. And this is... yeah, this was, in terms of a death match, because this is just a cold open, this is very subdued. It stays in the ring because neither guy wants to get fired. I'm sorry, Sammy, that was low of me. But this was actually pretty good. So you had Cornette said that Sammy was working as a backstage agent, producer, his own death match with Warner, and went into the crowd when they were told not to. That's what happened during their match, of course. But the crowd, man, they were like straight from the get-go. You could hear chants of "We want blood" at the beginning. Bestia dove, did a bunch of suicide dives. Like, Mansa used the actual turnbuckle to dig at Bestia's face, and they were going back and forth with a bunch of Singapore canes. Mansa brought out some doors. He brought out a couple chairs. They're getting the crowd to clap because they're asking if we want tables, and he's like, "Screw that! I'm getting the door." Death matches, a lot of people, they're not for everybody, but they have their own unique kind of storytelling, and it's great to see the back and forth between the crowd and Mance and Bestia. It worked. There is a place for it in the wrestling landscape, as much as people abhor certain kinds of blood and guts, which we'll get to in a second with other stuff. But yeah, Mance Warner, he casually had some thumbtacks in his pocket, put them on a chair. Bestia used them against Mansa, and he had some right wedge in his head. And if you're wondering what Cornette said about that, I don't know either, because pretty much I'm waiting until Tony Schiavone comes back. In terms of I was kind of ignoring Cornette with this one. I didn't want to get into it all that much. There were a couple of near falls after Mansa. Bestia hit Mansa with a couple of trash cans. But of course, towards the end of the match, Mansa and Bestia in a big strike battle. Mansa won it, and he was by taking half of the door and breaking over Bestia's head. Getting ready for the knee pad up, knee pad down for a near fall, and then all of a sudden Selena gives Bestia some powder. It's like Selena sprays Mansa in the face with some hairspray. Bestia does the powder. Then Mansa gets put into a muscle buster through 2 steel chairs, and this wasn't really a death match. I enjoyed this match for what it was. It was fun, but it was just, again, the weird cold open of this was just really bizarre. Like, Selena, once again, cheated for her talent. We all seen this before. And on paper, this should be great, but when you're actually watching it, it just felt really out of place. I don't know. Something was off about it. Maybe because of, again, the Sami Callihan death match. They wanted to try and keep it subdued. But Bestia was great. And I'm not the best fan of Mansa as a wrestler. I love him more as a personality. But I don't know. It was an entertaining match, and it was a great open to the show. And like after all of that, then we get the introduction. So it was really, really weird. But I roll with it. MLW. I love what you guys do, and I will continue to do so for many, many times to come. We have a whole bit of drama here with Davey Boy Smith's sister, Georgia Smith. She's been on the show for the past 2 weeks, and she is now making out with Hammerstone in the elevator. So I'm glad that I've actually not watched MLW last week to report on this, because I was very, very salty about Georgia Smith interviewing the Dynasty, because the cold open before Davey Boy Smith and Hammerstone faced off, you had Georgia just casually saying like, "Oh yeah, Davey's my brother. What do you think about him?" And she just, the absolute obliviousness with that promo. Like, I'm so glad that this has this extra like intrigue in terms of the relationship, that Hammerstone is in a relationship with a member of the Heart Foundation, essentially. I really enjoyed that. Like, but if you'd asked me last week what I thought about it, I was so angry. Just like because people think like I bashed Casey Lennox for just being a weird backstage interviewer. Like, but this was just So again, I'm glad that it's actually been, this has kind of been explained away now. But so now we cut back to Casey Lennox. So she's the one trying to find out this relationship. So she's tried to talk to the Dynasty. They've actually pretty much said no comment. They can't believe anything, that they not even believe in the relationship exists. So they're choosing to deny it. Hammerstone's being unusually quiet about this thing. So we'll see what happens there. They call the rumors fake news. They're no comment. That's what happened. Then we have a big announcement. This is one of my favorite announcements that I didn't get a chance to talk about last week. MLW have gone into a working relationship, a talent exchange with Pro Wrestling Noah. I am so excited. I mean, you had the junior champion Minoru Tanaka. He was on a few matches like for Battle Riot and a couple other stuff, and like he is just top notch, like cruiserweight classic kind of artist. But like I am really looking forward to this, because Noah, like that's where some of the greats like Kenta came from. Like Kenta was, before he was Hideo Itami in WWE, he was a beast, and Noah, the absolute class there. And I'm hoping personally with this partnership, because immediately you have Hammerstone is actually going to be a part of their N1 Victory tournament. This is the first time American, I believe, is part of that tournament with MLW. I could be wrong, but it seems like it's a big deal for them, for Hammerstone to be over there. But I'm hoping that with all the big names they have, they're big heavyweight wrestlers, you know, like Kinya Okada, Maso Inoue, Mitsuya Nagai. There's Quiet Storm. There's a lot of great Japanese wrestlers. So of course, there's a couple of Gaijin wrestlers as well. Like a lot of people with ties to Impact Wrestling, a lot of Australian wrestlers as well, like Mikey Nichols and Shane Haste and Aussie Pride representing here. I'm so intrigued. Like they could go so many ways with this, but I'm hoping that this relationship actually builds on the heavyweight division, because we don't have a lot of heavyweight contenders right now. And I want that to succeed. I really want that to succeed. But so yeah, I'm very happy about that. We have a Contra promo with their weird little baseline. Joseph warning the crowd that not to throw trash on the ring, or he will beat up the Von Erichs even more. Yeah, that's going to work out well. Second match, you had rematch. Ricky Martinez, accompanied by Selena, versus the professional Low Key. Konad is now on commentary. Ricky made his way to the ring, and it's played for a lot longer than it should have. It was like a weird kind of stalling thing. Low Key's usually for the past month now, Low Key has been winning with one strike and it's over. And the guy can just decimate you pretty much straight away. But before the bell rung, Ricky threw a coat at Low Key and attacked him off the bat. Low Key hadn't hit a move on him yet, and Ricky's attacking him like a pit bull. It's very smart. like this. So we're not having the traditional Loki match for the past month where it's just like, you're out. Loki's the winner. Conan is on commentary, and last week he stole Selena's phone, and apparently there are some pictures on there saying that they're borderline triple X. They're all three commentators are saying how excited they are to look in her phone because they're all perverts. And Selena is like 3 feet away, who has her phone, and she isn't even asking about her phone or looking at commentary, but they're just like, yeah, like Selena, like we don't want her to find out. The phone is just sitting on the table. Like, I don't like this. I do not like this at all. Like, in terms of the match, this was great. This was a nice. Like, there's 2 parts to this whole thing, right? You had the match with Loki and Martinez, which was great. Like, ultimately, Loki won once more with the Dragon Sleeper. Martinez did not tap out. He actually passed out, which I respect. But this is messed up because your babyface manager, Conan, is threatening revenge porn, right? He's saying that these texts and pictures that will go viral if they're shown, like yes, Selena is saying that she has a secret about Conan, but Conan's response is like, well, I'm going to put up pictures of you on the internet. And I don't mean to burst your bubble, Conan, but have you looked at Selena's social media? I mean, she's a model. She posts scandalous photos anyway. She's a gorgeous woman, right? There's no point to any of this. That means his threats have no weight to them. And again, the babyface is using revenge porn, which I'm pretty sure is a crime over there. It should be. And like, MLW doesn't have a women's division, right? But doing this is really just like dick alpha move, like from just the guys club, you know. It's so messed up. It's absolutely, I'm not a fan of this at all. I like the story with Loki and Ricky. I loved Selena not getting her way, the fact that Martinez lost. She tried to bring back Loki and he's having none of it. I love that bit. But this whole bit with Conan and Selena, like, it's been done before. Like, even when he came back a couple weeks ago saying, like, I can't satisfy women, how about we do it right here in the ring right now? You're a sick bastard, Conan. I don't know. He seems very out of touch, and they're not reading the situation in this at all. Like, let's get away from the revenge porn, please, MLW, and we can all go our separate ways. That's hopefully what we can do. We had a backstage segment with the Justice League, as I called them the other couple weeks ago. It looks like they have a new member in Koto, Brazil. Now, Koto started swearing a bunch, saying that Wrest and MLW are against him. All 3 cut a promo that they need justice. They all do that. They're all wearing orange jumpsuits. It is very... I'm not exactly sure where this is going, but it seems like it's evolved into something else, which I'm very intrigued by. I think Rich Swann has actually left MLW. It feels like he's actually left now. There wasn't a fuss made. He seemed to be in this storyline with Myron Reed and everything else, and now nothing. But Koto Brazil, they weren't doing anything with him before, and he's been jobbing out to everybody for ages, so I approve of him being in the Justice League until I'm told otherwise. Like, the social, like, they call them the keyboard warriors or some shit, but no, it's the Justice League. I'm trademarking that shit. Let's go from there. You had Tom Lawler cut a promo in a parking lot. He's invoking his rematch clause. Like, he's kind of spinning his wheels there. Casey Lennox is trying to find out answers about Georgia and Davey Boy. Like, he's trying to find out what's going on there. Like, asking Davey Boy what's the deal with his sister and Hammerstone. And he's like, what are you talking about? She shows him the footage, and Davey gets mad, walks away, and he looks pissed. So, a little extra nugget of information there. Now, the main event for this episode, Contra Unit, Simon Gotch, Joseph Samael versus Ross and Marshall Von Erich. Right from the get-go, they said this was an unsanctioned match. MLW want nothing to do with it. Yeah, it's like I don't like unsanctioned matches because it's not truly unsanctioned if you call it in advance, and the fact that the referee there, the way they did the unsanctioned 6-man tag last month, that worked out great, but it's so stupid the way they do this. Contra's trying to antagonize the fans, but they're trying too hard. They're trying so hard. I mentioned a couple weeks ago, and I still stand by this. I think you should have Samael as Fatu's manager. Like, you can have a lot of creativity with him just as the manager. I think Gotch is the weak link. Even though Samael is not a great wrestler anymore, he's a great manager, and he's still got the fireballs and the craziness. Like, he can do something for Contra, but Gotch is just this weird anomaly in this group, and I do not like it at all. In terms of the match itself, the Von Erichs, they really carried all of this match in how they were going about it. I love the finish in this, right? So you had Samael tried to go for a fireball, but Ross blocked it with a steel chair. Then he hit Samael with the steel chair. I love that. It was a very super creative finish, really good. The Von Erichs picked up the win, which of course they did, and straight away they try to negate it all by having, once again, Contra attack the Von Erichs after the match is over. Then people break them up. Fatu comes out, Lawler comes out, more breaking, more brawling. This is the second time we've had this kind of brawl, and it would be a lot cooler if Tom Lawler didn't already say that he'll be there, like, wrestling. MLW doesn't want anything to do with Contra, but they book matches for the next show instead of getting rid of them, like Callahan. They had a Riot Squad. This is getting... It's a mess. It's a bit of a mess. The Contra is starting to lose a lot of its allure for me, personally. I enjoy this episode of MLW, but the parts, I didn't think it was a great episode. I thought it was okay, just because I don't like the revenge porn bit. I don't like Contra at the moment, and we had the weird death match. Like, it should have been great. On paper, all of these matches should have been great, but there was just something wrong with it, and I'm hoping that we can fix this in the coming weeks. That's all I'll say. But nevertheless, an entertaining episode of MLW nevertheless. We have a few AEW nuggets of information to get through here, ladies and gentlemen. So without further ado, how about we go over... we have episode 163 of Being the Elite. This is a private party. So pretty much around about this time, Nick Jackson, he had his birthday. I believe he turned... I'm not going to say it if I get it wrong, but he had his birthday earlier this week, and they're having a photo shoot done for TNT and everything else. They're having a couple of interviews prepared. We're going over the big announcement, of course, for October 2nd. They're just like, join us, which Cultaholic, they might be suing you guys in the future. No, I'm just kidding. You have the Young Bucks start some storyline with Private Party. It's just like they're trying to talk to them, but security are just saying, like, no, this is a private party. You can't talk to them. And Private Party literally super kick the Young Bucks. And that is their story for their final indie match at House of Glory 8 Intensity, I think it is. Yeah, that before the Young Bucks go full-time with All Elite Wrestling. You don't need a big explanation from these guys. We had a segment with SCU, Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, which was hilarious. You had the backstage ref. He's still doing things as well, stopping Christopher Daniels from accidentally going into the female locker room. You had Chris Jericho answer a mailbag. It was pretty standard stuff. There wasn't any big, like, jaw-dropping revelations from this episode. The main gist of this entire thing was through the Road to All Out. That's where the real source of information came out from AEW this week. And boy, the Road to All Out was just awesome. So he opened immediately with beginning to be my favorite wrestler of All Elite Wrestling, if he wasn't already, like Maxwell Jacob Friedman, MJF. He is talking about his love and affection for his best friend Cody Rhodes, saying he's proudly a Cody Rhodes guy, and people are calling him a brown noser because he goes over his house every day and he hangs out with his wife and his dog, like Cody's wife and dog, Pharaoh, and, and he's like, and clearly not MJF. And then he unbuttons his blazer and he has a Pharaoh tie on, and it's just, you could not have timed that better. Just Cody has this, like, he's completely blind. I think it's legitimate. People saying that MJF is at first it seemed like he was just pretending to be Cody's friend, but after that weird Rocky VI speech, it's like MJF is actually now friends with Cody, right? I don't think it's completely goes both ways. I don't think Cody sees MJF as this big best friend like MJF now sees him to be, right? It seems more, he sees him more like a son, Cody Rhodes does. But what I love about this is MJF is now attacking the absolute shit out of Shawn Spears, saying if he ever gets his hands on him again, he is going to destroy him. And how someone can be an absolute despicable, like, bastard to everyone else except Cody, but at the same time the fans love him because he is just saying all this shit to Shawn Spears. I love it. Like, he's going to town saying he's going to sleep with his wife, like Peyton Royce. Go check out his Facebook. Like, seriously, the amount of shit that he talks about, like, this is what I love about wrestling, that the way that some of the best talkers can, like, really carry matches, segments, whole shows even, right? If they're talented enough. And man, MJF is just phenomenal. Go check out his Facebook for half the shit he's been saying. He's probably posting more stuff by the time I'm recording. We had a contract negotiation between Shawn Spears and Cody Rhodes. I say negotiation, but really it was Tully and Shawn Spears going through the contract with a lawyer and going through the negotiations. They made sure that for the match at All Out, Cody can only have one person at ringside, right? So won't have the whole Rhodes family, the Nightmare family, like Tommy Dreamer, like DDP, like Dustin, like Brandy. One person can stay, and if it's not MJF, I can see him maybe being a little bit upset, and maybe we'll see what happens there. That's all I'll say. But pretty much, Cody arrives to the meeting late. He just walks in, signs the contract, and leaves. Does not even give any attention to Shawn Spears or Tully at all. Loved it. I love this mix of old and new. The contract negotiation was just top-notch quality. I love the absolute shit out of it. And we're not done with AEW videos because AEW released a Join Us Live video in regards to their ticket sales for their first TV event in Washington, October 2nd. We've had some matches announced like Cody versus Sammy Guevara. We've got a 6-man tag with Kenny and the Young Bucks versus Jericho and 2 mystery partners. I hope it's not Phoenix and Penta again. Judging by, like, Jericho saying that they're going to be, like, really big names, I think it's not going to be, because I feel like after All Out, it's for the AAA tag titles, so the Lucha Brothers will win that match, and then they can move on from that, and they can still fight on Wednesday Night Dynamite, but at the moment, I think that will run its course, that whole best in the world tag team thing. But it was interesting because, for those of you guys who don't know, WWE had their quarterly business conference over the phone, and Vince McMahon, he referred to AEW as blood and guts. They're saying, like, they're asking whether they go back to the Attitude Era to get more fans and bring back some revenue for the product, because revenue is down in WWE. Like, pretty much everything's down. Viewership, sales, subscriptions to the WWE network, like house show sales, which are just dropping by the thousands every time. And yeah, Vince McMahon called AEW just blood and guts. Of course, this isn't anything new. He used to call WCW Billionaire Ted. He used to call ECW the Bingo Halls, right? Which back in the 90s kind of worked with the way WWE carried themselves, because they were in that Attitude Era. They could say that shit, and they tried to make it seem like they were above the, like, I'll use ECW as the example, above the horrors of extreme violence and everything else. And Vince McMahon probably thought he was like a throwaway line, like saying that there might not even be competition for us in the future. Who knows? So full of shit. So full of shit. And Cody Rhodes, it just did this simple 2.5-minute promo where he said that, like, you calling us blood and guts? Hell yeah, we're blood and guts. He's saying, like, rather than shy away from those comments, he's like, no, we are blood and guts. Wrestling was founded on blood and guts. Everyone, like, who has wrestled, doesn't matter their, like, race, sex, like, religion, anything else, they fought tooth and nail to get to where they are through blood and guts. And I love how he's just crafted this. He's just making, once again, WWE has shot themselves in the foot with this. Like, and Vince McMahon, he's showing, like, I try not to get political here, right? But he's just showing how he usually handles his business, and his methods are dated as all hell, right? This is not the, like, you would think that he would kind of evolve with the times in some capacity, but no. Vince McMahon has once again put his foot in it, and now AEW has all this momentum, and at the time I'm recording, AEW had 10,000 tickets available for their big Washington, D.C. first TV event, and in 2 hours it's sold out. This was a rallying cry, and guess what? They sold out another 2 hours. WWE would be lucky to do that now with an ordinary house show. They'd be lucky to get, I'll say it, they'd be lucky to get 1,000 people at this stage in some house shows that they've been doing. And I'm just loving the direction we're going with All Elite Wrestling. It's been a phenomenal journey. I can't wait to see what's happening. I can't wait to see All Out. There's a lot of wrestling coming up, guys. I'm nervous. But I'm excited. I'm very nervous, but I am very excited. That's the AEW goss that we're going to be covering. Of course, before I finish, NWA have released a new 10 Pounds of Gold episode. They finally have resurfaced once more, and with a big revelation, apparently NWA has actually cut ties with Ring of Honor, which is a big deal. Which, like, of course, they had their Summer Supercard pay-per-view. It was going to be Nick Aldis versus a member of Villain Enterprises, which it could have been Marty Scurll, it could have been Flip Gordon, could have been PCO, Brody King. I was really looking forward to that. Now they've just ended their relationship altogether. Now Summer Supercard is August 9th, I believe. It's pretty much all Ring of Honor now. You hear rumors that NWA, they want to try and make their own show, which, I don't think they have the manpower. They don't have the resources. I don't believe they can do it right now. They would have to partner with another company. Now, could it be AEW in the future? I would like it to be. I would absolutely love for them to have AEW as a partner so we can have Aldis versus Cody 3. But again, that just seems like it's out of place as well. So I'm really curious where NWA goes from here before their next pay-per-view, the next pop-up event. I don't know. But in the meantime, while we decide where they're going to go with this, we do have a big championship contender in the works, and his name is Eli Drake. And this episode is pretty much the journey of Eli Drake with championship wrestling from Hollywood, how he used to be a tag team wrestler with Brian Cage, which I forgot just how different Brian Cage looked a few years ago before he really got into the bodybuilding. Before he was the Machine, he was just an agile guy. Like, look at how small he was. Still jacked. He was about the same size as Eli Drake, but look how small he is compared to how he is now. It is so It's like night and day. It is completely bizarre. But he's going through his history with wrestling, his love of wrestling, and wanting to do like backyard stuff at some stage, and like who his influences are, saying he loved Stone Cold, The Rock, Ric Flair, like Nikolai Olkoff. There are so many people that he mentioned, and wherever NWA goes from here, I am really looking forward to Nick Aldis versus Eli Drake. And if you're looking for a guy to carry the National Wrestling Alliance on his back with sheer charisma alone, yeah, you rely on Eli Drake. Like, that is the best decision that you can ever do. I don't know when we could see that match, but I hope for NWA's sake, it's sooner rather than later. I do apologize, guys. It's been a very action-packed episode. I'm going to try and cram 2 weeks of content into this. But before we get into all the other big wrestling news throughout this week, let's cut to Greg with our sponsors.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey everyone, just want to take a second to tell you about one of our new sponsors, Outbreak Nutrition. Outbreak Nutrition are creating supplements for survival, sharper minds, quicker reflexes, all the energy you need to take your performance to the next level, whether that be on the field, in the gym, on the gaming field. That's right, they have specifically designed gaming supplements as well to help you focus on those late night sessions. They even sell coffee, you guys, at Outbreak Nutrition. You can get coffee pods, you can get coffee beans, you can get supplements for the bedroom as well if you want to enhance your performance there. These are performance enhancing supplements for every aspect of your life, specifically designed by gamers, for gamers, to stay fit and healthy in the gym, to stay sharp and focused on the game, and to dominate in all areas of life. So check out OUTBREAKNUTRITION.com, and for being a listener of our podcast, they will give you 10% off your order when you enter the code B+. That is BPLUS at checkout. So make sure, if you want to stay on top of your game, if you want to take your performance to the next level, OUTBREAKNUTRITION.com, enter the code B+ at checkout. Hey guys, just a reminder, if you want to hear all of these wonderful B+ podcast episodes completely ad-free, make sure you head over to Patreon or Podbean, where we are the featured podcast this week. You can subscribe for as little as $1 a month up to $10 a month, where anything you want to help us with, it really helps out. It's going to help us grow the site. It's going to help us redesign some things, and everything that we get through this and through the advertising as well is all going straight back into the podcast so that we can get Aussie Graps out there for the rest of the world to hear about, for the rest of the world to see, so we can grow this mission of watch global, support local, and build indie wrestling. So if you want to be a part of that and get some really cool rewards like call-in shows, bonus episodes, ad-free like I mentioned, then head over to patreon.com/theb+ and subscribe today.
Welcome back, guys. Glad you could make it again. Let's go into all the big news coming out of this wrestling news fortnight, I should say, because there's been a lot of signings, injuries, people have left a couple things, and just a couple of weird stories that we've gone about this week. I'll go through all the signings because there are a lot of them. In terms of All Elite Wrestling, we do have a couple. Marco Stunt recently celebrated his 23rd birthday, and he announced that he is now a full-time member of the AEW roster. Mr. Funsize, very happy to see him. I'm looking forward to more stunts with him, with Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. We're going to have a 3-person shoulder ride. It's going to happen. It's a little thing. I'm going to pop for it. I can't wait. Another person added to AEW's roster to their backstage interviewing role, Chris Van Vliet. Now, Chris Van Vliet is, without a doubt, he's essentially the king of YouTube interviewing right now in terms of wrestlers. He's just come out of the woodworks in barely a year, I think. It's just, I'm sure he's had a history with interviewing and stuff beforehand, but the guy has been crushing it. He's been trying to interview, I think, one wrestler a day, which, being signed now with AEW, he'll have a chance to do all that and more. If Alicia Atout is the queen of wrestling interviews right now, Chris Van Vliet is the king. And AEW have them both. They're both big personalities. Very excited to see what happens there. But in terms of wrestling, we have a couple updates here. So WWE have actually signed King Cuerno. So for those who are otherwise known as El Hijo de Fantasma, I believe, he has been trying to get out of his Lucha Underground contract for ages. Ages and ages and ages. Like, you finally have Swerve, who is now part of NXT. He appeared on 205 Live last week, and he's set to appear next month. So it doesn't say where he'll go. I assume it's NXT. I don't know what they're going to do with him. I am just looking forward to seeing what happens, because King Cuerno, he's still like 34, 35. The guy is very agile. He has a long career still ahead of him, and he's just a fantastic presence. And in one of the best parts, he can speak fluent English, which is a desirable thing for WWE, with a lot of their foreign talent, which we'll see what happens with that. Another big NXT. I'll go to NXT. I'll go adjacent WWE NXT news. Of course, I mentioned this last month with the tapings, but Fandango of the Fashion Police came to the aid of his cohort, Tyler Breeze, facing off against the Forgotten Sons. So they're back. I'm very much looking forward to see what Fandango has in store for everybody. You had Tegan Nox. She's come back from injury at a house show, so she's going to be crushing it again. Very much looking forward to the goings-on in WWE with them. In terms of Impact Wrestling, we touched on this last night with Aussie Graps. You had Tennille Dashwood. She is returned to Impact Wrestling, of course, formerly known as Emelina, depending on when you saw her in her WWE journey, which was... It was something. It was something. You have Douglas James as an MMA fighter. He's had some history in pro wrestling. He is now the latest person to be signed by MLW. Big name. Another MMA personality like Tom Lawler. You're going to have a lot of... There's a nice... MLW has the right balance between luchadors and MMA fighters, and now with Japanese talent, and MLW is just slowly kicking ass. I just love everything about it, to be honest. And in terms of other signings by people or big returns, the foremost, I don't like to talk about this, but the Certified G, Enzo Amore, now just known as Enzo, or the Real One, whatever you want to call him, he's actually returning to wrestling after, over a year, I think. After his last match was with part of the 205 Live tour, like the only 205 Live tour, where he faced off against Cedric Alexander. I think Nia Jax was the referee for some reason. I can't remember properly. But interestingly enough, where that last match he had is actually where his match with Northeast Wrestling is going to be. So he's picking up right where he left off. Say what you will about him, he can offer some things to the wrestling industry still, when he's not being an absolute tosser, like trying to fight with Joey Janela at Blink-182 concerts. Yeah, I'll tentatively wish him the best in returning to wrestling, and just hope he doesn't mess things up. That's all I'll say. We have some other signings, so this one isn't a new signing, but it's just more of an update. So a couple of months ago, The Undertaker signed a brand new contract with WWE, where he was meant to be going on StarCast 2 to do like he was doing a meet and greet, and he was going to do this big interview, like big one-on-one talk at StarCast, which, again, StarCast isn't run by AEW. It's like adjacent to it, but apparently WWE does not like that. They don't like the mystique of The Undertaker being pierced by anybody. So they have redone his contract. In terms of his wrestling, he'll retire when he wants to retire, because it doesn't seem like after his matches at Extreme Rules, that he's ready to retire anytime soon, which, okay, we'll see what happens there. But in terms of his career with WWE, he's essentially got a contract with them for life. So they are ensuring that he can have no meet and greets, no convention appearances anywhere else that's not affiliated by WWE. He is with them until he himself rests in peace. He's probably organized a deal where he is set for life, like money-wise, which I'm happy for him. But yeah, it's bizarre how much Undertaker has been now shackled to the company by WWE. I have no idea where they're going to go from here. I really do not, with how Undertaker's career is going to go. I just hope that it ends well. That's all I hope for. I hope the Undertaker is able to end his wrestling career on a high, and then after that, who knows, like Hall of Fame the year after. I just hope for it to be pretty simple. In terms of injuries, guys, you have Rachel Evers, or Ellering, whatever you want to call her. She's going through surgery this week for her torn ACL. Another NXT star, Karen Q. She suffered a leg injury at a house show at NXT as well, so she'll be out of action for a little while. A lot of injuries. And for the full extent of these injuries, a funny thing happened a couple weeks ago. Fightful got their hands on a leaked inactive list document from WWE's archives. So it's a proper official document listing all of the stars who are currently injured, and more importantly, when they're expected to come back. So interestingly enough, out of all of this, you have Tommaso Ciampa is expected to return to NXT in like sometime this month, maybe next month, which is surprising. I thought he'd be out far longer. I mean, like, recovery time, like, we used to talk about John Cena recovering from injury like an absolute beast, like Super Cena, and like Ciampa is just proving everyone wrong now. And and I love NXT. I love the whole Adam Cole being in charge and the Undisputed Era and all that, but NXT has been missing something. And Gargano is pretty much the best heel in that entire division, in that entire yellow brand. I'm not ashamed to say it. And they would do well with him coming back, even though I think it's a little bit too soon. But it has revealed, of course, Jeff Hardy, he's still out of action for a little while. You have Bobby Lashley, he's going to be out of action with the undisclosed injury until November 2nd. So we'll see how accurate this list is coming forward. Jinder Mahal, he's expected to come back January 1st, 2020. A lot of names on here. Like, it's very surprising just how detailed this list was. You should actually go look it up on Fightful. It's really weird how it was structured, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, for the full list, I don't even have to write anything down. WWE have done it for me. So thank you, WWE, or for whoever leaked out that document. I say thank you, sir. In terms of people leaving, not so much leaving, but this is more of people confirming what we already knew, that they are officially retired. 2 people have confirmed that they are officially retired from wrestling. The first is Hulk Hogan, which I'm kind of glad he said it, because depending on how much Saudi money is thrown at him, maybe Hulkamania would have run wild unless he had said something, but I shudder at the thought. Well, Hulk Hogan said, like, I had like a dozen back surgeries. People are surprised that he can actually walk still. He's just like, yeah, I'm not wrestling ever again. And which is fair enough. I'm glad Hulk Hogan knows his place in the wrestling landscape, and it's not to do that anything wrestling related. And the other person who officially announced their retirement is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, which you would think like, oh yeah, like he's retired, but one more match maybe down the line. But no, he's proper saying he's done, and he's left on a high, and we'll have to accept that his final match was against Eric Rowan at WrestleMania 32, where he beat him in 6 seconds. That was the thing. But no, it's unfortunate that The Rock, of course, that doesn't mean that he can't come back, cut a promo, hit a people's elbow. Nothing stopping him from doing that, of course. But in terms of an actual wrestling match, apparently he's officially done. So there's that. We have some big other news stories from this week. It's a WWE mismatch. So it pretty much is all WWE related because they're dominating the waves throughout this week. There's a lot of stories about them. I'll start with the good news, the stuff that I'm actually happy to talk about. They are slowly phasing out the wildcard rule. If you notice, they haven't been talking about it on Raw and SmackDown these past few weeks. They've been slowly phasing it out. And another thing that they've reversed their decision around is, remember that whole thing with wrestling during commercial breaks? So Vince McMahon had it in his head, for those of you who haven't caught on, that he didn't like the idea of wrestling happening during commercial breaks, because other sports don't do that, especially ones that are like you have your MMAs and everything else, like timed rounds and everything like that. And he got in his head that there should be no wrestling at all during the commercials. So what would happen is there would be a lot of elimination matches, a lot of 2 out of 3 falls matches, so many 2 out of 3 falls matches. It was stupid. Like, matches will get cut off and they'd be turned, like, people would interfere in the matches and they would turn from a tag team match to an 8-man tag, or a singles match to a handicap match. It was so stupid, and it looks like they're slowly phasing that out too on Raw. I feel like this is Paul Heyman's doing. He is adjusting into his power quite nicely. Thank you, Heyman. Thank you. That we can't. The rumor is that by SummerSlam, that the rule should be phased out altogether, which I'm glad about. Only thing I'm curious about is how they're going to handle the 24/7 title now that they're going to have the brand split be serious again. I mean, it's I don't know how you do it. Like, maybe that's why they've actually given it to Maria as well. The first ever pregnant 24/7 champion, that happened during the time that I was away. Again, I go away for 1 week and all of a sudden everything is all up in the air. Like, damn it, WWE, damn it to hell. Well, I'm not too sure how they're going to balance the brand split with the 24/7 title, if they're going to abolish the 24/7 title, which I hope not, because it's been the best part of WWE for the past few months, as well as the Firefly Funhouse, which has been equally impressive now that Bray Wyatt's back. Yeah, many things in terms of WWE land there. But another few things that we can talk about with WWE at the Performance Center. Chris Sabin was one of the guest trainers who appeared there. He's actually on the shelf at the moment with a torn ACL, like his 3rd consecutive torn ACL, which the dude should have retired from wrestling, I think. But he's stubborn in spite of doctors and everything else, and at the very least he's imparting his knowledge to the people at the Performance Center, which I'm really happy about. I doubt he would ever get signed to NXT if he were to return. I would love it. I would absolutely love it if he would ever at some point wrestle for NXT, but yeah, maybe one day, but I don't think so. Another couple of people who've actually been announced to be at the Performance Center as guests, like Gangrel's actually been there at the moment. And if you want to talk about a guest trainer who can talk to you about character development and personalities, like Gangrel, especially from the Attitude Era, like one of the best characters in all of that whole in all of that whole time frame with the Attitude Era, right? And I just loved the Brood back then. Like, one of the best theme songs ever. Like, come at me, guys. I honestly, I will continually say that. Gangrel, the Brood, it was awesome. But yeah, real weird mishmash of guest trainers to talk to the Performance Center recruits. Really not too sure, like, if they teach them all the same things. You would assume that, like, one would, like, Sabin would talk about the high flying, Gangrel would talk more about the character. He can tell you how to spit blood. He can definitely tell you how to spit blood. If you want to find out more about that, go check out the WWE PC YouTube channel in all its glory. It's really something. We have a couple other news stories with WWE. So we have a new Netflix series going to be announced. Well, it's the Big Show's Netflix series. This came out of nowhere. I think we announced WWE Studios and Netflix. They had this other movie in the works. I mean, it was like a kid wanting to be a wrestler. Like, he's like 10 years old, and it, like, the plot sounded so corny and like 80s centric, and this one doesn't seem any better. Just going off the plot synopsis. So this is the Big Show, and Netflix announced it earlier this week. It'd be a half-hour multicam comedy series starring WWE superstar The Big Show. Production will be a 10-episode series beginning August 9th. The premise is as follows. When the teenage daughter of Big Show, a retired and world-famous superstar, comes to live with him, his wife, and 2 other daughters, he quickly becomes outnumbered and outsmarted. Despite being 7 feet tall and weighing 400 pounds, he is no longer the center of attention. Oh dear. This could be like Holy Foley territory. I have no idea. Like, I usually love Netflix collaborations and weird movies that they come up with, unless there's anything Adam Sandler. But, this could be good. This could, just based on the premise, doesn't sound too great. I'm hopeful. Netflix, you've been good to me. You've been good to me with Marvel. You've been good to me with a lot of things. Just, I hope this turns out well. That's all I hope for. Like, this weird studio thing. I don't know what they're going for here with, like, we've got the Hulk movie coming out, the Hulk Hogan movie coming out next year. It's weird to think what these movies, like, what their actual goal is, like, and why it wouldn't be a part of the network itself, rather than bringing in Netflix to do these weird kid series. It seems very out of sorts by WWE, but maybe they're just trying everything to try and make something stick, because that seems to be what they're doing with a lot of things lately, including how they're handling one Seth Rollins. And according to the Wrestling Observer, WWE are desperately, the keyword here is desperately, trying to make Seth Rollins cool. And I just laughed out loud when I saw this, because if you think about it, yeah, they're trying so hard, but the fact that they're trying so hard means that it's not cool. Like, the way you make someone cool, WWE, is by not tampering with them at all, and let them be their own character. Crazy thought. But if you've noticed over the past couple of weeks, like, from the Raw reunion, the way WWE tried to make Seth Rollins cool was to have him be a part of the NWO DX click thing in the ring. They let him say the DX line. And he, of course, there was that photo going around of the click hugging, and Seth Rollins is just out of the hug, just like, oh, I'll just stand here then. Right? And they're trying to, he had the stupid John Cena promo where he's saying that Brock Lesnar is a Seth Rollins wannabe, and like, of course, with the backstage segments with the Street Profits, he's teaching them how to do his burn it down catchphrase. They're calling each other dog and boy, and they're doing cool handshakes, and it's just the height of coolness, clearly, in WWE's eyes. But the thing is, Rollins has taken a fair amount of shit the past few months, because on his social media, like commenting about Will Ospreay, Jon Moxley, AEW, he's come off as, how do I put it delicately, a bit of a dick. And it's, I don't know what he can do, like what WWE can do. If, like, the fact that they're trying so hard to do this means that it's probably not going to work, and it's going to make things even worse than what's happening. So please, WWE, just don't meddle with it. Seth Rollins, just, I don't know what he can do. He's a great personality. He's like one of the best wrestlers in the world right now, but man, I've really soured on him. Like, the fans have soured on him a lot, which is probably explains why he got beat to shit by Brock Lesnar on the latest Raw. Just like all the F5s. I don't know what it's going to take for Seth Rollins to get back to that babyface level. I think he's kind of lost it now. Like, there needs to be something drastic that needs to happen for him to kind of get that back, or he needs to do some apologizing online. I don't know, something. Like, he's trying to be this big company guy, and it's just not working. WWE, if nothing else, please stop trying to desperately make him cool. You're not helping. You're not helping at all. You're only harming him. Kind of like how they harmed the relationship between Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. So, if you haven't caught on from Raw's commentary these past few months, Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins are in a relationship. Who would have guessed? From Michael Cole constantly ramming it down your throat every 5 minutes. And yeah, the man, Becky Lynch, was not happy how WWE kind of used this in storyline. So in an interview with TalkSport, she actually talked about saying how she was very apprehensive. She didn't want everybody talking about the relationship. What she wanted was two badasses, two people at the top of their game, fighting side by side, not for the world to be reminded every 5 minutes that this is Becky Lynch's boyfriend or Seth Rollins' girlfriend, which, yeah, WWE are clearly the masters of subtlety. Absolutely the masters of subtlety. So for that reason, Becky Lynch wasn't a fan, and she's trying to make it work. Like, she's not happy with how it's being handled. I feel like they're going to try and take a step back with it now. Like, all the momentum from WrestleMania, I feel, is gone for Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. Like, the whole man thing. I still love Becky Lynch as a character, but I've kind of soured on her as well. Like, I think by association with Seth Rollins, like, it's just all this stuff online has made me soured on her character, the storylines. It's a mess. It's an absolute steaming pile, and it's not what WWE wanted. But through their meddling, they've kind of once again they've shot themselves in the foot, like they did with AEW, like they did calling them AEW Blood and Guts. It's just like WWE needs to really rethink things, which Paul Heyman is making some great steps in the right direction. We'll see, hopefully, in the coming weeks if they can rectify all of these issues and more. Other stuff that they might be trying to do, they might be trying to bring back some old legends, of course, because with SummerSlam, you have The Miz versus Dolph Ziggler is being planned, or is it, ladies and gentlemen? Because the rumor is that this match might be actually swapped out at the last minute because Dolph Ziggler has been throwing shade at a lot of former wrestlers, former Hall of Famers. Well, not former Hall of Famers. They are Hall of Famers, of course, but former WWE legends, I should say. In Shawn Michaels and Goldberg, he's been throwing a lot of shit their way, and the rumor is Ziggler will either face HBK or he'll face Goldberg. A quick 30-second squash. Goldberg just spears the ever-loving crap out of Dolph Ziggler to wash our minds of the Super Showdown debacle that was the match with Undertaker. I wouldn't be against it, but I don't like the idea of them just bringing the legends like this when they should be focusing on the talent they have now. That's an idea, WWE. Like, that's a crazy idea. It's a mess. And another thing as well, Matt Riddle has actually responded to these rumors saying, make it a triple threat, bro. It's what the people want. And a WWE employee whose name escapes me because it didn't show up on the news articles, but he actually said, do you want to get in trouble with WWE? Because this is how you get in trouble with WWE. And it's just, Matt Riddle is, I love him as a character. He has this great persona. Like, he is the king of bros in all his glory. But the way he's handled his distaste of Goldberg and his career, man, it's just like low-hanging fruit at this point. And he might have stuck his foot in it. The way he's been constantly jabbing at Goldberg. Knee bar, bro. What a knee bar. That's all I'll say about that. Another story we have here. You have Roman Reigns, his mystery attacker. Who attacked Roman Reigns on SmackDown? Big mystery. At one stage, based on the footage from how SmackDown ended, it looked like it might have been Buddy Murphy. That was the rumor going around for a little while. If you look at the WWE's official reasoning for why the scaffolding got dropped, it was due to a forklift that was carrying some loose scaffolding and was moving it, and something fell off. Like, there was some bullshit report that they came out with. But who drove the tow truck? That is the question. Who truly knocked it over? The rumor is actually, and this kind of makes sense to me, Daniel Bryan is the culprit. And of course, he's been trying to make this big announcement these past couple weeks, hasn't had the chance to, or he's just kind of gave up on trying to tell people. Maybe the announcement that he'll be facing Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. The last time they faced was like 2015. It's been a while. So, and a lot's happened since. I don't know who's going to get cheered more, like, in terms of, we're supposed to hate Bryan, but man, both these guys have gone through a lot of shit in the past 4 years. I feel like this might be that Bryan should win this, hopefully. And the rumor is, of course, that he's maybe going to 205 Live, which I would be all for, because 205 Live, they need someone like Bryan in their ranks to get people watching, to actually legitimately get people to watch the product, because like they had Swerve there last week. They had this big unsanctioned fight, which again, I don't like unsanctioned fights, but between Drake Maverick and Mike Kanellis, which was awesome. It was actually a really great match. The 205 Live, like all the off-kilter products of WWE, like NXT, they're going so well, right? And the rest of the product is just weighing it down. And 205 Live needs someone like Daniel Bryan. I would be all for that. I'd be all for him being the culprit. I was hoping it'd be Buddy Murphy, just so that he could have something to do in WWE land. Like, call me crazy. I would love to see him wrestle. But yeah, it is what it is. We have a couple of little amusing stories to end on, ladies and gentlemen, before we go. Of course, you have Hobbs and Shaw, the latest movie by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, is out in cinemas now, and Roman Reigns is a part of that. Of course, the cousin of The Rock. He is playing his brother, which is, perfect casting there. Perfect casting. But a little story has surfaced from Roman Reigns' time in production for the movie. There's a segment in the movie where they don't have any weapons, so they use a whole bunch of wooden staffs and clubs and everything else and tomahawks to fight off the bad guys. And the director instructs Roman Reigns to pretend to throw this wooden club. So to sell, pretty much, just to sell that you're throwing this, but don't actually throw it. On his first day of production, Roman Reigns actually throws this wooden club, and it goes right into a cameraman's face, and he knocks him the hell out. And then the cameraman's fine, and it's hilarious, and he was apologizing all the rest of that day, which is hilarious. Like how to impress your boss on the first day: knock someone out, especially a cameraman. And you can see the footage of the cameraman getting knocked out and the camera just going right to the floor. It was beautiful. Big dog, glorious work there. Of course, everyone should go check out Hobbs and Shaw. Like, Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw, I think, is the official title. Not Fast and Furious 8.5, whatever you want to call it. It's bound to be a interesting time in cinemas with your family and friends, so go check it out. This video is not sponsored by Hobbs and Shaw, but it would be nice. It would be nice. Guys, hit us up. And I'll end on, I usually start with birthday news, so I thought I'd end on birthday news because Triple H celebrated his big 5-0, his 50th birthday, and he had it's making us all feel old in comparison as well. But X-Pac revealed on his podcast how the festivities went down. So Triple H threw all of his mates out to where he is in Connecticut, right? About 50 people were in attendance at this lakeside hotel. X-Pac described it as intimate, is what I'll say. Everyone shared an evening dinner. The next morning, it was time for some fun and frolics as the guests hit the lake to jet ski, ride boats, do some ceremonial axe throwing, which that makes all the sense in the world because Triple H thinks he's a Viking. He does think he's a Viking. Vince McMahon was there because he's never going to miss a party. And apparently everyone was saying that despite being nearly 74, the guy is still in great shape, which no surprises there. On the night, they had a local band play. They ate a delectable meal, including swordfish and prime ribs. You had Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash. So you had the clique there. You had Evolution there, right? As nightfall descended, Stephanie McMahon marched the guests outside to watch a light show with hundreds of drones recreating the DX logo. But we're not done yet. You had Triple H introduce John Fogerty of Creedence Clearwater Revival. They had ZZ Top there, also in attendance. And they ended the night with Linda McMahon dancing with X-Pac. There's so much to unpack there. There's so much to unpack. But if nothing else from this weird thing, the fact that I think Linda McMahon is that's the first I've heard of Linda McMahon in quite some time, not to do with like wrestling related. Like, oh, there's so much there. But if nothing else, Triple H, I'm glad you celebrated your 50th birthday in style, and I'm glad that we're back covering all the rest for you guys. I'm glad I'm back covering this, and expect more stuff from us all in the coming weeks, guys. If you want to follow all of us here at the B Plus collectively, because we are a great bunch, we are at the B Plus Wrestle on Twitter because wrestling wouldn't fit, the B Plus Wrestling everywhere else. If you want to follow me, I am at Mr Mysterious with a 1 to 7 I, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Grapple. Hit me up. Let's have a chat about what I missed in the week where we had a little time off. Remember, guys, our Patreon, any amount you could donate would be greatly appreciated, so we can keep giving you all what you want, when you want, highlighting the very best of Australian wrestling, keeping you up to date on all the wrestling news from around the globe. Like, share, subscribe, hit that 5-star review. I've been Mr Mysterious with all the rest, and we'll see you later.